Photosynthesis. All living things require a constant source of energy to stay alive. Scientists divide living things into two groups according to the way in which they get their food. All living things can be classified as either heterotrophs or autotrophs. Autotrophs and heterotrophs. Plants and other organisms that meet their energy needs by building organic molecules from inorganic substances are called autotrophs. Organisms that do not make their own food but depend directly or indirectly on autotrophs for food are heterotrophs. A cow, for example, is a heterotroph. It depends directly on autotrophic plants for food. A human who eats the meat of the cow is also a heterotroph, because the energy in the meat was originally derived from plants. The human is indirectly dependent on plants for food. Ultimately, all life on Earth depends on autotrophs. Photosynthesis is the major way that autotrophs produce energy. Photosynthesis is carried out in plants and many microorganisms. During photosynthesis, the radiant energy from sunlight is used to produce glucose, C6H12O6, from carbon dioxide, CO2, and water, H2O. During the process, oxygen, O2, is released into the atmosphere as a waste product. In any biological system, materials are constantly recycled. During photosynthesis, plants take in H2O, water, and CO2, carbon dioxide, to create glucose, C6H12O6, and release oxygen, O2. The plant then uses the energy from glucose to manufacture all other carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids it needs for life. The raw materials it needs to do this are absorbed from the atmosphere and the ground. When animals eat plants, they convert organic molecules in the plant into its own proteins, lipids, carbohydrates, and nucleic acids. This energy-releasing process requires oxygen, O2, and releases carbon dioxide, CO2. Thus, this relationship between plants and animals results in the continual recycling of carbon dioxide, CO2, and oxygen, O2, in the environment. However, a constant input of energy is needed to keep the cycle going. For almost all living things, the ultimate source of this energy is sunlight. Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a process that converts solar energy into energy that is stored in chemical bonds. Glucose is the organic molecule that this energy is stored in. Just how does this transformation occur during photosynthesis? Here is a general equation for photosynthesis. 6CO2 plus 6H2O plus light energy equals C6H12O6 plus 6O2. In the above equation, carbon dioxide, CO2, combines with water, H2O, in the presence of light and creates glucose, C6H12O6, plus oxygen, O2. While the general equation summarizes the process, photosynthesis is actually a complex biochemical pathway. The process results in the transformation of light energy from the sun into energy stored in the bonds between the carbons, hydrogens, and oxygens of the glucose molecule. The process takes place in two phases, the light phase and the light-independent phase. The light phase must occur when there is sunlight hitting the chloroplast. When this happens, the hydrogen molecules from water are stripped off the oxygen molecule. The hydrogen is saved for the next phase of photosynthesis, and the oxygen is given off as a waste product. The light-independent phase can occur with or without light being present. In this phase, The hydrogen molecules from the light phase is combined with the carbons and the oxygens from carbon dioxide, CO2, and a molecule of glucose is formed. The function of leaves. Leaves are the primary sites of photosynthesis in plants. As such, they must absorb light energy and take in carbon dioxide from the environment. Specialized cells in leaves use light energy, carbon dioxide, and water to make sugars. Sugars manufactured in the leaves can then be used as an energy source for growth or be transported to roots or fruits and stored until needed. The temperature of a leaf increases when it absorbs light, just as your skin can get hot on a bright summer day. To cool off, humans perspire. Glands on the skin secrete water, and the body is cooled as the water evaporates. Plants do something similar. In plants, the process is called transpiration. Water evaporates from the surface of the leaves, cooling the plant. The lost water is replaced by water being brought in from the soil by the roots. The water is drawn up the trunk, branches, and stems of the plant. Transpiration cools leaves while pulling water and dissolved minerals from roots through the stems. In corn, more than 98% of the water that is absorbed by the roots is lost through transpiration. If a plant cannot find enough water to replace the water lost to transpiration, it begins to wilt and will eventually die. Modifications for capturing light. Leaves absorb light, which provides the energy for photosynthesis. Special cells in the leaves called chloroplasts capture the sun's energy. These cells have photosynthetic pigments called chlorophyll. This pigment is what makes leaves green. The chloroplasts in leaf cells are typically arranged in a thin, uniform layer near the lighted side of the leaf. This minimizes the shading of one chloroplast by another. In many plants, the leaves are modified for special environmental conditions. In deserts, where light is sometimes very intense, leaves are often thick or have hairs. These reflect or block the excess light and reduce water loss. Another adaptation related to light intensity occurs in the so-called window plants. The leaves of these plants actually grow underground. All of the light for photosynthesis comes through a tiny window of transparent tissue that protrudes above the soil. Gas exchange. Plants obtain carbon dioxide for photosynthesis from the air. Carbon dioxide, CO2, diffuses into the leaves through the stomata. Stomata are structures that are found on the undersides of plant leaves. The stomata is bordered by two kidney-shaped guard cells, each of which has flexible cell walls that allow it to bend. The opening and closing of the stomata is regulated by turgor pressure in the guard cells. Turgor pressure is related to the amount of water in the cells. When water enters the guard cells, the cells expand lengthwise, the result being that they bow apart and form a pore. When water then leaves the guard cells shrink and the pore closes. The stomata of most plants are open during the day and close at night. The opening and closing of stomata reflects one of the major ways in which plants survive diverse environments. When sunlight and water are abundant, the guard cells around the stomata are open. When the sun goes down, there can be no photosynthesis, so the plant closes the stomata. When water is scarce, the plant must hold on to the little water it has, so again the stomata stay closed. The plant's genetics guarantee that it will never be collecting carbon dioxide, CO2, when photosynthesis cannot occur because of too little water or sunlight. References for this reading: 1. Curtis and Barnes' Invitation to Biology, published by Worth Publishers Incorporated in 1981. 2. Johnson and Raven, Biology Principles and Explorations, published by Holt, Reinhardt, and Winston in 1996. 3. Tolley, Modern Biology, published by Holt, Reinhardt, and Winston in 1989.